um, Dennis's life story is in many ways the story of Arunachala Ashrama itself, and he's going to be talking about that. So I just thought I would maybe say one or two incidents or one or two things about Dennis that maybe he will not talk about, and as a way to introduce the person that he is to everyone who may not know. So all of you know that Dennis went into a silent retreat for a few years, but before he did that, he wrote, before leaving, he wrote an email to the community, to the Arunachala Ashrama and all the devotees. And the email started as follows. At the age of 18, I decided that I had to find out what the meaning and purpose of life was. I saw no solution in my home, so I wrote a note to my mother, borrowed $20 and left. But there's a slight backstory to that. So I think, and Dennis, please feel free to correct me if I get any of the details wrong. But I think at that time, at that age, there was a choice to be made between leaving home in a sort of a wandering life in search of God, or to take up a job. And he had actually given an interview and he was expecting a response from some job. And he had mentally decided that he would wait for a couple of weeks. And also at the end of that couple of weeks on that day, maybe up to a certain time, let's say actually 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. And if I get a job by that time, I will take it. If not, I will leave. So there has been no response from the company, and the clock strikes 2, and he picks up he's about to leave the house when the phone rings, and he picks up the phone and they say, "You have a job." And apparently his response was, "I'm sorry, I already accepted another offer." So that's sort of what the person he is. And then in the same email, he continued saying, "This journey lasted for about 4 years, during which time I traveled the world over and had many experiences which brought me to the conclusion that the only meaningful purpose and goal of life was to realize God or self-realization." And again, how he puts that into practice. So this is a few years later. Dennis was living in a small wooden cabin in the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York. And he's been doing his own spiritual practices, but during that process, he hears about Bhagavan and the book Day by Day with Bhagavan. That's the first book that he read. And he finds out that there is an ashrama in New York, and he comes to visit the ashrama on the day, and he gets talking to Bhagavat. And that happens to be the time when Bhagavat was looking to buy the ashrama in Nova Scotia. They were about to go to Nova Scotia to look at some properties and so on. And there was some discussion around how we would finance that purchase, because there was not much money. And so again, the idea of being, that's the only meaningful purpose of life. So the immediate reaction from Dennis was, take everything that I have, if you want to buy that, and that includes the cabin and whatever else that he had, ready to, in a moment's notice. He's seeing somebody for the first time ever, and that in a moment's notice, ready to give up everything and say, take it, and this is what I want. So I think these two stories just tell you the kind of person that we are all fortunate to know. And I made a small list of things for which we have to be enormously grateful for all that Dennis has done, from restoring Bhagavan's videos so that we can see them, the Sage of Arunachala video, the documentary, the 1996 Centenary Yatra, which has now become an annual feature, the interviews with devotees that has now become the Guru Ramana video, publishing the Maharshi newsletter for over 30 years now, and of course being the mainstay and the resident sadhaka and manager of Arunachala Ashrama itself. And we learn about all of that. The only thing I leave is, but perhaps the biggest lesson that I have learned about Dennis is how he puts into practice what Bhagavan always used to say. To serve me is to serve my devotees. And I've never, it's just, that's the biggest thing, at least for me. Among all these other things, it's a wonderful thing. So, Dennis, it's been wonderful pleasure. The fructification of many janmas of punya, I think, that I must have done to know you. So, I would like welcome you to talk to all of us.
And what he said, if I believe it's me, I'm in for big trouble. And death is coming. So I'm going to tell this story about Arunachala Ashrama in Nova Scotia. That's what I've been asked to tell. Abhinav Maharaj told me, a photo is worth 1,000 words. So I just have lots of photos and not many words. But I'll try my best. So as usual, everything begins here with Arunachala, and where it all resolves. So I remember in 2016, I gave the 50th anniversary of Arunachala Ashrama presentation at the function here in 2016. And I started off the same way. And this is also from the 2016. So, and in order to enlighten the world to its spiritual power and teaching, Arunachala Shiva, in his mercy, absorbed the individuality of a 16-year-old boy in Madurai and dragged him to his slopes on September 1st, 1896. And there is that boy. And that's why we are all here today. And that's why Arunachala Bhakta Bhagavat came to America and started Arunachala Ashram. He started having meetings in 1965, or 64, 2 years before the incorporation in 1966. So he quit his job working at the Indian Mission to the United Nations and started having meetings. This is an early picture from the mountain path, perhaps 1969, in a room he rented on 8th Street in Manhattan. Now this is the center on 6th Street in Manhattan. You can see he's not too concerned about his appearance. But he's happy. And this is one we dressed him up for. But you can see the Arunachala Ashrama Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi Center. And this was on 6th Street, where many Indian restaurants sprung up all of a sudden. And they remained there for 20 years. So this is a group of a few devotees on 6th Street. You may recognize Evelyn, Arthur, and Marco, and Paul. That other fellow was a photographer, Scott Hyde.
Which one is Arthur? Which one is Arthur?
Right behind Bhagavat, no beard.
Oh my God!
I thought you'd be happy to see that one.
Wow!
So we had regular meetings there. Bhagavat started celebrating Ramana Maharshi's advent at Arunachala right away. That was a main event of the year, and this is one program there for that. So why did we go to Nova Scotia? When I came in 1971, Arunachala Bhakta Bhagavat was all excited about starting a country ashram. He wanted to do it near New York City, but just at that time there was a back to the movement, or back to the land movement in the New York area. So all the property just outside of New York City was quite expensive. And he had no money to begin with. He quit his job, he had no money, he was running the ashram just on the bare necessities. Somehow he survived. And so when I came in 1971, he asked me, his story's a little different than mine, but he just asked me, can you help? They already saw this property. So there was a gentleman named, see that David Sewell. He was a professor at the art history, or he was teaching art history at Halifax, Nova Scotia. And he got interested in Ramana Maharshi and Tensway. And he wrote to the ashram, he said, it's most important to me that I receive these books. So Bhagavat got enthusiastic. You see, what he does always, when he received a letter, he writes when he received it, how he replied. He was the information officer at the Indian Embassy in Washington, D.C. for 10 years. So he was like a historian. Everything was documented. So he got this letter. He called the person, and the other person got excited also. He told him about the country retreat. Well, we wanted to have an ashram. And he had just moved to Nova Scotia, I think, and he realized how inexpensive everything is up in Nova Scotia. I'm just showing how Bhakta used to document everything. That's the first letter he received. Then he called him, and then he responded with this letter, saying that he can buy he will buy. Thank you. I can't express how happy I am to feel to have received your letter and the books on Monday. There's much to say. I can't begin to do it in a letter. And he wants to come down to New York. And then he's saying, 4 weeks ago I began to look for land in Nova Scotia for the purpose of a one day being establishment, a small community of the type you described in your letter. Because Bhakta Bhagavat responded with a letter and also a telephone call. And Nova Scotia is very beautiful, and land and farms are still quite inexpensive. I earn nearly enough money to buy a place, and I am able to build buildings and so forth. 1 year from now, the main or the basic physical structure of the residential ashram you speak of in your letter could be completed. At least, that's my guess. So he was very enthusiastic, and Bhagavat was all enthusiastic because he never gets any response from anyone. So then, here he is, this David Sewell. This is a picture of him. Here, I'm going to give you another one. This is the professor there who wrote to Bhagavat. And they sent Joan and Matthew up to visit him, to see about a farm in Nova Scotia. So they drove up in September of 1971. And that's David Sewell. I looked on the internet because we hadn't heard from him since the 70s.
He has the same neck posture.
Does he really? Yeah.
Like
At first I didn't see the resemblance. But this is him. But unfortunately, we got it from his obituary. He passed away in 2018. And it tells he taught in Canada and the United States and art history, and then he went off to many other things. And he was a delightful person with, everybody enjoyed his company. So then in March, Joan and Matthew went up, met him, and he couldn't commit himself right at that time with the financial requirement that was needed. But since Joan and Matthew were up there, they started looking around for a place. They said, since we drove all the way up here, you see that Volkswagen? Bhakta Bhagavat encouraged them to get married. They weren't married yet. And that was a marriage gift, that Volkswagen. I mean, all the money they got, they bought that car with. So they drove that Volkswagen up to Nova Scotia. And they looked around for a farm, and they ended up coming to this place, which looked different in September. This is in March of 1972. We went up, Joan and Matthew and me and Bhagavat. We went up to see the place. So this is how it looked then. So then it was bought. And in April, Joan and Matthew went up. You can see Joan sitting there. And then 2 weeks later, I came up. And then you see Bhagavat there. So this is what the place looked like in 1972 when we came.
Dennis,
Yes.
how did you go?
How did I go?
Yeah.
How did I get there?
Yeah.
Well, that's another story. My mother was living alone at that time, and I told Bhakta Bhagavat, so, I love to go to the country, I enjoy living in nature, but I don't. My mother was going through a difficult time, and I said, I don't want to go so far from my mother. She's having a difficult time. Bhakta Bhagavad had a perfect answer. Let her be the mother of the ashram. Take her with you. So I went, to my hometown. I said, Mother, let's go to Nova Scotia. You can stay there with me up there. But she came. But look at how the place looks. 1972, when we got there. And somehow she didn't get excited when she got there. And she left in June. And she didn't understand everything also about what the ashram purpose was and what I was actually doing. I'll tell you a story. I was going to college and I told her I wanted to quit college and dedicate myself to spiritual practice. And I asked her, what do you think? Is it all right? And she thought for a while and she said, if you think that's what you want to do with your life and that will make you happy, go ahead, please do it. So she didn't obstruct anything. And she came up, but it didn't work out. But I kept calling her. Then she came back like 2 months later or a month later, and the whole thing changed. She loved the place. In fact, she kept coming every summer. She would drive up by her, in fact, she had a job. She would quit it during the summer. Wow. And spend the summer up there, and the same employer would hire her back whenever she goes back. So she would come every summer for many years, even up to, and then in the end when she couldn't drive up there, she liked to have her car there, we would drive her up. And she kept going there, until she was, maybe the last time she went there when she was 90 or 89 years old. And she used to walk in the woods and she would help all around and everyone got along with her. So, this is 1972. See the barn, how it looks there. So we had to do a lot of work when we got there. There's Joan. There's Matthew. And you see how the woods, you can see the mountains so clearly. Now the trees are so high, you hardly see the mountain, right? They're the pioneers. So there we started painting the building and doing work around. So this was the announcement in the mountain path in October 1972 about the founding of the ashram. He said, in Bridgetown, the center is to propagate Sri Bhagavan's teachings and practice meditation and chants morning and evening. A batch of dedicated devotees. There are happy fixing a house and grounds for this country ashram that will be open to all sincere seekers in search of self. So the Bhakta Bhagavad had the dream that people from Wall Street will come and sit on the grass and enjoy the open sky and experience Bhagavan's unique teachings. He was all enthusiastic about that. That was his ideal. So this is the shrine we had in the house. It's a library room now, if you go there. We used that initially when we came. You see that picture on the top? That's Arunachala Bhakta Bhagavad's mother. Now she was, if he ever mentioned her name, or in some context began to talk, he would weep. He couldn't talk about his mother without weeping. So there he is. That must be around the same time, sitting out in the back lawn. So I'm just showing this page here from January 15th, 1984, how the information officer documented every visit, 73 visits in 25 years he made to the Nova Scotia Arunachala. He documented how he got there, and who drove, and who came with him, and who was there, and how he returned. So that's... And here is this is the inauguration of the Nova Scotia Ashram in 1972, September 1st. You can see Evelyn there, and this is some other visitors who came up from Florida.
Which one is Evelyn?
This is Evelyn, I believe.
The first lady.
Yeah. So, this is Jim Early and David there's a couple of devotees that came up from Florida, 3 of them. You can see them on the left here. Jim and Corrine early, and David behind Evelyn. So they wanted to start an ashram in Florida, where they lived. And it was down by Miami area, Fort Lauderdale. They did have a place there. Even got a cow, like we had in Tower, Nova Scotia. And it lasted for a couple of years. And then, they were going to college then, I think.
Dennis, you are not in that picture, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
he
guess.
is.
That's Dennis.
That's
Right?
Dennis.
That's
That's
Dennis.
Dennis.
Yeah.
The one with the
The
real
third one is from the right.
sleeveless
Yeah.
yoga.
So this is Evelyn, this is Arunachala Bhakta Bhagavat's son. That's Dennis. That's Raymond. And there's Bhagavat with the same pants and shirt. So that was a picture that we sent. This was Jayanti, 1972. Maybe it was 73, but it was in the mountain path you see here. Bhagavan's Jayanti. And we had it in New York City, and we had it in Nova Scotia. Even Joan, she composed a little poem for the occasion.
Is that Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are the two? Matthew?
Yeah, the three of us. Yeah.
No, but Joan and Matthew, all right.
Joan and Matthew. They remained there for the first 5 years, Joan and Matthew, and they're very dedicated. And Joan, even they were working outside to, we could have money in the ashram. We didn't have much resources at all. So there, we had the September 1st program in the living room of the house in 1973. So devotees or Indians started learning about the ashram by that time, and they started coming. So this is Mr. B.K. Raju, who became instrumental with the Arunachala Ramana Mandira construction. So in 1977, Bhakta Bhagavat and I went to Nova Scotia in 1977. So I left the ashram. Joan and Matthew were there. And you can see Evelyn. There were 7 of us who went. So we didn't really have money to buy tickets. They were expensive back then. We used to visit Swami Adishwarananda at the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Center on East 94th Street. We used to go there often, and he, was very close with us. He, admired what we were doing. And he told some of his devotees there, if I had some money, I would buy them a ticket. So I think 2 devotees from the Ramakrishna order bought us tickets. And we stayed at the Belur Mutt when we went up north also. He arranged for us to stay at the Belur Mutt. So you see Swami Vishwanathan there in the middle there. Evelyn and Joan and Bhagavat. I'm not sure anybody recognize who the woman is next to Swami Vishwanathan? I forget. Sridhar? No. Yeah. So this is 1977,
77 or 73?
It's 73. No, that's 77. Oh, you're right, 73, I'm sorry. This is 1973, thank you. This is 1973. And then, so they gave us those pictures you see on the altar now. They were, they only produced black and white pictures during that time. And there was one Sayadas. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He used to color all the pictures for the ashram. A sadhu. So they presented us both those pictures you see on the altar in Nova Scotia. So during Bhagavan time, if anybody came, they used to take group photographs. They kept doing that up to the 70s. And the ashram was still struggling a bit in the 70s. So when some Westerners came, starting and establishing, the first ashram outside of India, dedicated to Ramana Maharshi, they took notice, and the president was excited. So he took group pictures. I'm not in that one because I'm taking Bhakta Bhagavat's son to Mysore. He wanted to see Mysore, and his father didn't want him to go alone because he still considered he's too young and inexperienced. So I had taken him to Mysore. So I'm not in this photo. I was away for 2 or 3 days, I think. So you see many old devotees there in this group. So when I came back, well, this is after, there's, I think that's my mother there. And in 73, so we continued working on improving the ashram. And we got a cow. This is Lakshmi. This was our neighbor, Mr. Connell's cow, and he gave it to us just to look after and milk it, whatever we wanted to do with it. Eventually gave some money and bought it from him. So, and we used to milk every day for 10 years. I used to milk cows, and that was the most, much more satisfying than playing with computers, which came later, right? And so that's Lakshmi, and that she posed for. She asked for that photograph. That's the other cow. So Lakshmi had a calf, and the calf died. So my neighbor, who we called, who was a dairy farmer, to help us what to do, it was dying, and it died. And he took us over to his farm, and he said, "Well, pick out one of his calves." So we picked out this one, Saraswati. She was very sweet and friendly and everything. Saraswati. You see that bucket Bhakta Bhagavat's holding, she would fill that up twice a day.
Wow.
So we used to make butter, and people would come and pick up milk from us. This is the family next door, Mr. Raju. Bhagavat used to call him Mahatma Kano. But he took care of us when we came there. We didn't know nothing. I'll tell you a little story that I grew flowers in my mother's home one time, or once or twice, but I never grew vegetables, so I had a book about growing vegetables, and I was saying how to plant potatoes, and it said you have to make sure the eye is in the, but I thought you had to cut out the eye. So he came over and he was watching me, this Mr. Connell, and he said, "Well, what are you doing there?" I said, "Well, I'm planting potatoes." He said, "Where did you learn to do that?" I had the book with him. I showed him. He said, "Let me see the book." He took it and he just threw it. Don't pay attention to that. Just do what I tell you. So he taught us everything about farming. He would help us. We could go over to his barn anytime at his house. He would give us anything. And they used to complain in town there's some hippies living. During that period, there were very few families or people moving into that area that hadn't been there for generations. So we were breaking that mold, and that particular road, Clarence Road. So they would complain to him that there's some hippies living next to you now. He said, "No, come with me. I'll introduce you to them. They're good people." And whenever he came in the ashram, he'd always take off his hat, very respectful. If we go away, he would cut the lawn, look after everything in the ashram in our absence. So he was so helpful. And that was, he was a widower with 7 children at home at that time. So we would sing Christmas carols during Christmas. We'd bring him over, we'd ask him to come over, and he would drag his children over. And we would sing the Christmas carols, and he would weep while we sing. So there he is. He would giving Joan a ride, and he loved horses. And he never went anywhere, and he got this horse here, and he had several horses. He only had a little yard, and the horses, very rarely he would do this, take them out on a carriage. And I used to tell him when he was in the barn, I said, he told me how much it cost. It was a lot for what he had. And I said, "Well, you spent all this money on the horse, you're not doing anything." And he was brushing it at the time. He said, "You see this brush? You see what I'm doing here? I get every penny back just by moving it once across his body." So that simplicity he had, and that happiness he had, just from living in the country. So, okay, Satya.
Saitya.
Right here.
Okay, there's the horse. So that's the only picture I have of the horse, but that's my mother on the horse. So this horse, he got it, Mr. Connell, he persuaded a horse trader to give the ashram a horse. And I had to promise to that horse trader I wouldn't tell anyone that we got it for free. But it hadn't been ridden before ever. And I didn't know that. It was a trotter racehorse. And so he told me when he gave it to me, I should exercise it, even daily or regularly. So Mr. Connell gave me all the gear, he gave me the reins, what you see there. That must have been his saddle, but I didn't have a saddle initially. So I said, well, maybe I should ride it to give it exercise. So I jumped on the back, and it had never been ridden before, and I don't know. She can tell you what would happen. So I tell you, what happens if you jump on a horse that never been ridden before? You buck me up. So for 2 minutes, it tried to throw me off all over. I mean, I thought I was gonna go flying, but I held on, and somehow then he calmed down. Then I said, wow, I think I'll join the rodeo. I mean, it was thrilling, but it only happened once. After that, he was calm.
It was truly your first rodeo, huh?
So my mother liked horses. She used to ride when she was young, so you can see how happy she looks there.
Yeah.
So we had to bring in hay regularly for the horses and the cows and put them in the barn. This is so this is Joan and Matthew, the Yogamayaji. And this is Savitri Krishnan. She used to spend a lot of time in the ashram in the 70s. She was taken by Rabindranath Tagore to Shantiniketan when she was a teenager. She was an orphan, and she had a wonderful voice, and he used to even compose songs for her to sing. She used to sing on the radio, and they're on albums and everything. And so when she came to Nova Scotia, she had a daughter there, and she used to spend most of the time at the ashram in the 1970s.
Dennis, sorry, so the lady sitting on the left is Yogamaya, right? The
Yeah.
far left?
Yes.
The one in the middle is the musician you referred to.
Yes, Savitri Krishna.
And the one behind, is that Matthew?
That's Matthew, and then Joan in the front.
Okay, got it,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So this is when we went to, did I already show this?
Yeah, the same picture.
I think I have it on there twice.
Dennis, where exactly is this photo taken?
Adiyana Malay, can you see it behind?
Madhyanam.
No buildings there, you know.
Yeah.
So then, just Bhakta Bhagavan and I went to India in 1977. So I just want to show you, still they're taking group photos in 1977 when some people come. You see there's S.S. Cohen in the front, you know, and other devotees that you may recognize. There's Shastri Mama in the corner.
Dennis, is that Nadarananda?
Nathanananda won't be in there.
The one.
Yeah, the one third from the left, right?
Third from the left.
Yeah, third from the left has to be Southern Nathananda. Looks like, like.
I don't, I never saw him in the ashram during the 70s, and I never visited him, I never saw him in the ashram during the 70s. But, you're right, it could be.
Yeah, and then Ganesh Mama is right behind.
He's there, Ganesh is there, yeah.
That is Ganesh.
There's Kunja Swami out there.
Oh, this is great.
Father also.
T.N. Venkataraman.
Oh,
The Venkataraman is right in the middle there.
Yeah, right next to Bhagavat.
Who's the lady behind you?
This is Corneliuson.
Lucy Corneliuson.
Lucy Corneliuson, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they're still doing it in the 70s. So there's,
Oh, Kujiswamy.
yeah, so we're doing Giri production on.
This was the behind
Dennis,
picture.
the Shastri in the previous photo.
Yeah.
Is he one of the chanters of the Vedaparayana?
Yes.
That-
Yeah. So Shastri Mama.
Extreme right.
So,
Yeah.
Far right,
so
Yeah,
far
right,
right.
right.
In the morning, in
I
the
think it's
afternoon one.
Shastrama's wife that is next to Vishwanath Swami. I remember it. In that picture where you're holding the
Flag.
yeah, in Adi Annamalai, I think it's Shastri Mama's wife.
No, it's not.
No?
No.
No, I remember reading that.
No.
Oh, no, we can see.
So this is about the Arunachala Ramana Mandiram. So in 1974 we had the Advent at Arunachala program. I was in the barn and we fixed it all up. That's all in the barn there. And so then Darlene showed up around that time, Darlene. And she got enthusiastic about the ashram. And she started coming in a regular way and devoting herself to it.
Dennis, can you go back one slide before? Oh, okay. I'm so happy to see Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Saradama, and Swami Vivekananda there.
Okay.
That's all. I just want to point that out. Thank you.
So this is the shrine in 19. You see the two pictures that are now on the altar in the temple. So this Mr. B.K. Raju, you see him in the front right over there in the white shirt.
Yeah.
He said to us, okay, maybe next year we'll have our own building for this program. for the Advent program, we'll have a temple so he came up with a scheme to get some money loaned to the ashram, and we would pay back over a period of time. And he was in Harvard Business School on April 14th, 1950, when he read in the New York Times the obituary. I think it was on the 15th. There was 2 obituaries in the New York Times about Bhagavan's passing. There was a short one on the 15th and a longer one on the 16th. So he read about it then. That's the first he heard of Ramana Maharshi. He got interested. That B.K. Raju from Andhra Pradesh. So that was a building we bought. It was a schoolhouse. I think this seemed to be stretched a little bit, but it says Clarence West School, and it was on a lot. It was donated to the school board from the farm in which we bought from the previous owner in the last century. And it was supposed to have been built in 1879, same year as Bhagavan's birth, and used for about 67 years or so as a school. And then it was closed and sold. And then it remained there. Someone used it just for storage. And then it was bought by someone who wanted to develop a ski lodge down the street about a kilometer where Darlene lived, up on the mountain. And they bought the building and moved it down the street. This was a year before we came there even. And that ski slope didn't pan out. And so we decided to buy it and move it back to its original location. So we bought it. Oh, I put that there because Swami reminded me of a dream that, so we always had some financial difficulty in the beginning. And we had at this time when we bought the building, we didn't have money, and some money was due and we didn't have available. And I had one dream about all these rowdy people coming in and throwing us all out of the temple, which wasn't even a temple yet. But then this man appeared. His name is Lex Hickson. He's like a philanthropist from New York City, from a well-to-do family. He had a regular radio program weekly called In the Spirit in New York City. So during the 70s, all the sadhus and mahatmas that came to the U.S. went through New York City, and he used to interview them on the radio. There was a program, and he did his master thesis on the philosophy of Ramana Maharshi. And then Bhakta Bhagavat, sort of kept encouraging him to finish his PhD, which he finally did. So then, when he found out we were having financial difficulty, he came, he offered the money to pay. So he was the person I had the dream about, and then he came and helped us also. So there it is, we're moving the building back down the road. This is early in the spring. You don't see leaves on the tree. You can see some buds. So it took up the whole road. No easy thing. There in front of the house. Then we moved and we built a foundation. We had a foundation poured. And we moved it alongside the foundation. And you see these logs here. We rolled it over on top of the foundation and dropped it on this. We first had to raise it by jacks and these blocks, and then roll it over. It was no easy thing. We had backhoes pulling it. You can even see some remnants of that. So, you see, there's Matthew there. These are one of the carpenters. These are 2 workers helping us move the building. So there's Savitri Krishnan with Joan. So we're making some progress there. You can see on the building. So there it is, almost complete. We put a porch on the front. I think it's stretched too much, isn't it, Harry?
It's fine.
It's fine?
It's fine.
Okay. And then we continue doing that. And then we had the inauguration on September 1st, 1975. And we had a couple friends, Dr. Lakshmi Narayan and Dr. Subbarao, who were doing pujas all the time at home, and they were devotees coming to the ashram. And they wanted to do a formal installation of the photos and things that we had in the shrine over there, brought over to the other building and installed. And he did quite a few pujas for the installation. This is on the September 1st, 1975, when we inaugurated the temple there in Nova Scotia. That's Bhakta Bhagavan. So this was what was in the mountain path. You can see inauguration of Scotia Arunachala Ashrama in the Western Hemisphere, a 4-day festival in Canada. So there you can see Dennis and Margot, Joan, Evelyn, and Darlene, and it looks like Bhagavat. And they had like a 2 or 3 page article in the mountain path about it. And these are the 2 devotees. In fact, this devotee, you recognize him, right? Subbarao. He came after 50 years, he came back to do the puja for the 50th anniversary at the age of 91.
Yes. From Florida. From Florida. He was
From
in
Florida, from Tampa. He lives
He's
south.
actually in Tampa.
He lives south of here, like 30 miles or so. So there's a picture of the group of devotees and families that attended from New York. You can see John, Matthew, Evelyn, Margot, Darlene. So for those traveling to Nova Scotia, I just put this in here. You take a boat from St. John. Did you do it?
We did it this time.
You did. So this is coming into the Digby Gap. Into there, that's where there's a harbor, Digby Harbor, and that's where this boat docks. It's a 2.5 ride across from St. John, New Brunswick to Nova Scotia. And the ashram's about 45 minutes from there. So these are just some scenes from the ashram once you get there. This is the garden. You may have seen this whirligig in front of the Vedapata Sala in Ramanashrama.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have anybody seen it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
That's
the
from my
wind
brother.
truck, The wind.
They call it a whirligig.
Yeah. Really.
So it blows and there's somebody there milking a cow.
Yes. Yes.
That's not me.
Dennis, Michael Heiberger G showed us.
Oh, okay.
This
Whirligig.
Yeah, how do you spell it?
Whirligig.
W-H.
So when did he show it to you?
Must have been last year. Last
It's still going?
Last December
Still
or
going.
Wow.
last
I'm
December or
surprised.
the year before, I forget. Within the last 2 years.
Because that must have been 10 years ago when we sent it there.
Okay.
It was 2018, in fact, I think. Not 10 years ago, I guess. So these are just some photos of the house. This is the main guest house. These are just some yard photos. This is another one of the temple. So we have a statue like the one we had at the New York ashram, which was replicated by my brother. He made molds in 1989 of the statue in a new hall in front of the stone couch. In fact, he didn't put them all together and make the final product until 7 years later. In fact, I brought that up to Nova Scotia in the backseat of a car driving, and I didn't know. I went to went through immigration there, and they asked me, "Where are you going?" And do you have any? I don't know if they asked me anything. What they asked me, he looked back there. He saw he saw Bhagavan sitting there. He didn't say anything. He said, "Okay." Maybe Bhagavan took his invisible form.
Do you have a picture of your brother who had done a lot of things for us? Awesome.
Not in this. I don't think there's one here in this program. So this is in the shrine. These are, we have September 1st program, so these are regular people. This is Raju here. also was very dedicated and meaningful towards the maintenance and construction of the ashram in Nova Scotia. So we have the programs outside, we serve food outside because it's usually the weather is very nice and everything. There.
Oh, Shunya.
Yeah, I see there's Sanaka, there's Darlene, some people are serving.
Is that Glenn?
Look is the
So this is 2018, 2018.
That's Glenn, right?
That's Glenn, yeah.
Which one is Sonia? The first one? The first one on the right?
No, the middle. Shunya, the lady in the middle.
Is that Jen?
Lady in the middle is Shunya.
I thought it was a stage monk who.
So these are just some scenes around. So I'm going to show a little short video of Bhakta Bhagavat in the temple telling about the ashram. Don't see much. My brother had a video camera in which we used in 1989 to make many interviews, and he went to India with me in 1989.
But here the place is for practice, because we always say, in a humorous way, AAA as American Automobile Association, we say Arunachala Ashrama.
Oh. Okay, I don't know what that means. Uh-oh. Break time.
Technical difficulties.
No, not this, not this.
Oh,
No, not this, next one. No, this is not the video.
No, but that's okay.
Next one. Yeah,
That's
press
the
play.
But here the place is for practice, because we always say, in a humorous way, AAA as American Automobile Association, we say Arunachala Ashrama, Arunachala Abhyas Ashram. Whoever comes, Indians or American, I say this is Abhyasana for practice. You cannot learn, you have to learn ABCD, elementary and junior high, senior, university, or no one can become a doctor just by looking at medical college. The person has to go through the grind. So we use the term grind, G-R-I-N-D. We have, nothing can be grown in a field unless we plow the field. So same way, this is like a beacon light. Whoever they are, in the name of God, think of me. Shiva Bhagavan says, Tasmat sarvesu kalesu mama nusmar vidyascha. When thus remembering me all the time, fight on whatever work you have to do. Since creation has been brought into, different people have different jobs, different missions. They have to do or keep on doing, but remembering me. Little. I always say, do you have 5 minutes, sir? Do you have 5 minutes, Deviji? Do you have 5 minutes, madam? What? Early in the morning, sit down for 5 minutes. Don't do anything in a chair, anything. Don't have. For just 5 minutes in a peace and quietness. Whoever comes in here in the temple, we sit, we recite, we talk, little read, but most important thing is the practice, what we do, as we say. As we always say, so only he knows, she knows you, on whom you guard your grace and mercy. People can ask, why? I don't feel it. I say, do you have eyes? Can you see the sun? Can you breathe? Who will make you? You have to breathe that. Same way you have to experience, feel. And that is that. Whether you believe or not, but you believe in the sun, you believe in the wind, you believe in the river, you believe in the trees, you believe in the grass, all those things. So little attention that is a tasmat sarvesu kalesu mamanusmarjityacha. Therefore, hence, remembering me all the time, just fight on, work on, keep on doing. Without that, nothing. In India, they always say, ko comes first, then ko. Ko means karna, to do. Ko means kana, to eat. First you eat. As someone offers the food in front, and that hand will have to move. So certain person, certain work, that is necessary. But here the
That was one cottage built. This cottage was built in 1987. Then this one was built, this has 4 separate units in it, and it's built in 2020. And it has a living or a kitchen area. This is the path going up to the mountain behind the ashram. So the property goes to the top of the mountain, and we have what we say is a Skanda ashram and a Virupaksha cave. So that is the Skanda ashram. That was built in 1996.
Still bears up there?
The bear, yeah, one slept on the porch one night. One devotee with a story in one of the newsletters. And so that's inside, it's very simple. There's a group there going up to the cave.
There is one question. Whose photo is in that Skanda Ashram? The one the previous slide? Okay. Sorry. Oh no, not this one. Sorry.
Back.
Back one. Yeah. Who was the devotee of Sri Ramakrishna and Saradama?
Bhagavat, I think, right?
We were, I was, everybody was.
Oh,
How
great.
can we not be?
Ah. Namaskar. Thank you. Beautiful.
So this is on the way up to the cave, above the ashram. See, this is the ashram property going from here down to that lower field over there and into the woods a bit. So that's the cave entrance.
Oh, wow.
Very narrow. And look, I have a picture of me trying to get in. So it's not easy to get in, when you're a little bigger like me, but it's possible. There's a Shiva Linga in the cave.
Oh, brilliant.
And there's looking down from the cave, you can see the temple there. You can see some Rishi. Where is he? There's Rishi there. Jay and
Asha?
Asha. That's Asha, yeah. And her son. That's in the cave. They used to have children programs there on a regular basis every year. And so they put them all into the cave, got them all up there. They used to chant in the cave. See, there they are, one of the children's programs. That went on for about 10 years or so.
Oh, beautiful.
There's many activities they would go also. They would horseback riding, they would go kayaking and hiking, besides other activities in the ashram. That's over the mountain, there's a Bay of Fundy, and that's what that ferry went on. And that's the sunset in the Bay of Fundy. And that silhouette is the wife of somebody here, I'm not going to mention.
It was supposed to make the cover of an album.
What?
It was supposed to be in the cover of an album.
Okay. That's Sangeeta there.
Hint.
That's your mom. So, the children, there's lakes nearby to go swimming also. But we have regular visitors at the ashram. And this one comes every year. That's called a chipmunk if you're not familiar. So this is one visitor we had in 1977. Anybody recognize him? So there's Sundaram.
Sundaram, yeah, Sri Sundaram.
1977, his company sent him to the US for some training. So we brought him up to New York. We had him there for the Advent program in 1977. There you can see Darlene and Arthur, still no beard.
My God, Arthur is so different. We choose. Second one choose.
There's another visitor, J.J. Raman. That's my other profession. We had, over the years, we had people coming, a lot of people coming from India, and from all over the United States and different countries visiting the ashram. So there's a recent group of visitors. You may recognize somebody there. That's for on August 31st, we had the Advent program there, and the 50th anniversary of the temple. So this is also another visitor here. Right above the temple, they saw a UFO right above the temple. And actually they had sightings of other UFOs in the province. But there's a picture of them pointing at the temple in that paper. And I was sleeping there. So there's one of the persons who's been taking care of the ashram for many years. So that's Darlene. And here she is, still doing it, and still with the same dedication and devotion.
Smile.
Yeah, same smile. Now this is in 1982 or 83. This is Anil Sharma in medical school. Yeah, and then on the left, that's Lingeshwar Rao from Andhra Pradesh, from Bhimavaram. Now he was doing a PhD in biology. So they both used to come to the ashram together.
Yes.
And Lingeshwar Rao went back to India. He never took up a profession. He translated dozens of books into Telugu, Bhagwan's books. Also built a little temple in Bhimavaram and dedicated himself to that. And we know Anil Sharma. There he is. He continues staying. He continues staying in the
That's their
That's Shep, yeah.
chef.
That's Shep the dog, yeah. So when Anil finished his medical school, he was going to work somewhere around the ashram, so he came and stayed in the ashram. And his mother called, and she started crying on the phone. She said, "You're renouncing everything, moving into the ashram." He said, "No, Mom, I'm just looking for a job here, and I don't have a place to stay." So he eventually bought a house nearby, and he had a practice, for like 10 or 15 years near the ashram. Then he moved to Ottawa because his brother was ill and he wanted to help him out. And then he finally came back. His mother, on her deathbed, said, "Now you can move back to the ashram." So he built a house next to the ashram, and he's looking after everything. Him and his wife, Vijaya, they're looking after everything in the ashram, with guidance. Darlene and them are totally dedicated to the ashram. So this is another video. Okay, I can finish in an hour.
You will ask questions. Look at the view.
Okay. I thought I had enough pictures to finish everything in an hour and a half. But yes, it didn't work.
So Dennis, can we ask questions?
Okay, try.
So, how was the first purchase made in Nova Scotia? Who funded it?
Okay, I had some property that David Silva ended up giving 2,000, and that Lex Hickson, who I showed earlier, he gave maybe the concluding part. Someone else, there was a Dr. Gumar in Saratoga Springs up in New York, he also gave something, and that Lex Hickson gave something. So it was only $15,000 for all the property. It was 100 acres and 2 buildings. You saw the house and the barn.
$15,000.
15,000, that was 1972. The previous owner bought it in 1954 from a person who was living there. He was the son of the person who actually bought it. He was in his 80s. So he sold it to them not very much, with the condition that he could continue living there for the rest of his life. So this Ida Taylor and Bob Taylor, and they looked after him until he died. Not only that, that Mrs. Taylor started taking in aged people, like a nursing home in that house. So she had 5 aged people living in there, and they lived in a small room downstairs, and they looked after all these people. And I think that was an income. That was really only their regular income. And when we came, in fact, there was no bathtub, no shower. Okay. And so it was very basic. Next.
That's what the music was for the video.
Well, you see that it's not a proportion there. Yeah, I think we stretched it too tall. But the person who took those photographs, and I don't remember who it was, really. He took photographs, he sent us this little video ditty. And actually, I don't even remember who it was. So.
Thank you.
So.
How was it being at a place, helping it become what it became? So, what I want to ask you is the original idea with which you left home, the search of self and meeting Bhakta Bhagwan, and so there are so many things that you are doing. So how was concurrently the practice or the study or the abhyasa, etc. was happening? And
Well, at that point, when we founded that ashram, we all felt very dedicated. I mean, we felt like we had a mission, and we could harmonize both our aspirations, inner aspirations, and our outer life in doing one thing, which is establishing that ashram in Nova Scotia. So we would work hard to repair everything, make everything presentable and available to devotees to come. We felt like this was something to dedicate yourself to, and we also have the ideal in mind. So we believe that everything came by His grace alone, and we were doing that by His grace alone. Like when we're building the temple, we ran out of money, and the carpenters came and said we had to pay them next day, and we didn't have the money. And I had a dream during the night that I was in the old hall with Bhagavan, standing behind the couch. I was pulling the punkah, and he was sitting with his legs crossed out, just like that. And the carpenters came and stood in front of him, and they were complaining, in a complaining mood. Where's the money? So Bhagavan reached over with his left hand there, and he pulled out the money, and he gave it to them. And they took it, but they still started complaining. So then he just switched position like this, and looked straight ahead. He turned his head completely away from them, his whole body, turned our way, like he folded his legs and turned looking south. And then they walked out. So then the next day, we received a money order in the mail for the amount we needed to pay these workers. So we felt that Bhagavan was guiding all of us in that process.
Where did you get the money from?
I can't remember who sent it, really, but it was a money order for the amount we needed. I can't remember who sent it, really, to be honest with you. So this is like confirmation that what we were doing was inspired by him, not by our own ambition or interest.
Then he paid by Subramani.
Subramani. Subramani.
Yeah. Lord Muruga.
Yeah.
So I read somewhere, so the cottage is there, but the mandir is not yet happened in Nova Scotia. And Bhakta Bhagavat used to chant Lalita Sahasranama.
Yeah. Good thing you're asking me questions.
Yes,
Because I forget all
want
that.
this recorded, because I think you gave me the answer in Nova Scotia.
So when we first got there, Bhagavat was always inspired to build temples. Even from his youth, he wanted to build temples, and his ideal was to build a temple to
Fifth Avenue.
Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi and Madhvi Bhutaswar Deviti on Fifth Avenue. And he'd walk up and down the avenue with this dream in his mind. He'd be like oblivious drunkard, dressed like that, like you saw. And he had that dream of building a temple. And so then when we got to Nova Scotia, we finally bought that land. He saw that property across the street. Actually, it was higher than what you see now. The bulldozer leveled it down for that foundation. So it was a high point of that whole area. So he said, this is like a tortoise back, which is ideal for building temples. And he used to walk around it reciting Lalita Sahasranam. From the first we went up there, every time he visited, he would walk around that reciting them. He said, Bhagavan will build his temple here. And then Mr. B.K. Raju in 1974 came forward and offered some plan, which wasn't a sure thing actually at first. And we didn't really have money to pay back. We were just doing it all in faith, you know. And faith worked out eventually. So
How long did it take to pay back the loan?
I think within a year after it was built, the money came to pay back the loan to some people in Halifax. Within a year or two, we paid back the loans. Now that cost more than the actual farm. That cost $25,000. The farm cost $15,000. So we owed money in town to the building supply store. Quite a bit of money we owed them also. But then that Lex Hickson came forward and helped to pay that off.
So there was a video of the Deepam lighting in Nova Scotia.
Really? On the top of the mountain?
Yes.
In the winter?
Yes.
We walked up there one year.
Yes, can you please?
No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's a video of that?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
There is a video narration. I mean, it's not like with pictures. I watched it. I mean, that's how. So, Deepam is happening in India, and in the bitter winter of Nova Scotia, somebody found a light, and it said the beacon. It had the word beacon on it, or it was a beacon light, and they had this brilliant idea that they are going to carry it all the way to the top of the Annapolis, the mountain, and they celebrated it.
So I remember.
Yes.
And what it is, there were snowmobile trails.
Okay.
They used to go up the mountain. Even on our property, they go up and they go to the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an area on the ashram property,
Mm-hmm.
straight up above, that was open, and you could see light from there if you put a beacon.
Okay.
So these snowmobiles, they had no cell phones or communication back then.
Yes.
If they went up in the trails back there, they would light a light there. It was one of these canisters, these black round canisters with kerosene in them, and they used to use them on highways. I don't know if you never saw that before, but they used to use them on highways, and they would light that light. That would indicate that there's somebody up there. And then they would put it out when they leave. So if something happened to them, and the lights are up there, and they're looking for them, and then they would go up and look for them. So we also decided to do that, go up there and put the light up there one Deepam day. So there was, I think Anil was with us, Anil Sharma, and a couple other visitors. And, we chanted Arunachala Shiva. It takes about 40 minutes or 45 minutes to walk up there. It's easier in the wintertime when you have the snowmobile trails, it's all flat on the trail, and you can walk up there. So we did it, I can't remember what year it was, but yeah.
It is
So,
really dedicated.
How many miles or get up to the top of the mountain?
you can do it
How, like,
miles, it may be only like a mile and a half or 2 miles, but you're climbing.
it's,
And then you have to go, you have to go to the west and then come to the east above the ashram. We did it this year. I did it with Terry from Sayre, from California. He went up the mountain and he didn't come back and we're looking for him. And he went up and didn't tell us he wanted to do it for himself, to go to the top, to that spot. But he got lost. We went looking for him. And it's like the story of devotees going to find the banyan tree that Bhagavan saw. He ended up in a tree. He got stuck. He couldn't go either way. He lost his cell phone. He thought he was stranded for good. But somehow he got out, so we found him. So, anything else? Okay.
Dennis, I think people will also be interested in what you may want to share about the 4 or 5 years you were away between 2019 and 24.
Okay. Do you have any questions or?
Your thoughts.
not answering the question.
So I had a very clear calling that I should leave, and it was when I was in Nova Scotia, probably in June or July of that 2019. But I knew I wouldn't leave until I go back to New York, and I wanted to make sure everything was all ready. I don't know, and all the management of the ashram and financial arrangements, everything was set in place before I left. And I didn't tell anybody. I told one person, his name was Richard. He was in a prison here in Florida, but he used to write to me, a devotee living in a prison, and I know he wouldn't tell anybody. And I told him, I wrote to him, I said, well, I won't be writing back. And I know you won't tell anybody because you don't know anybody here and you don't have no access to anybody. But I won't be here if you write back. And I told him what I had a calling to leave, and I wanted to live a simple life. And when I was young, I thought I could live a sadhu life with no money, and just sleep anywhere. I had that ideal. You read the books, and I thought this is doable. When I was young, but I joined the ashram, I never had an opportunity to do anything like that. So it wasn't something I was thinking about and all of a sudden, regurgitating over in my mind that I should do it. It just came upon me all of a sudden. I should do this. And I did try to select a place I could go to where I could get food. I knew this one place I went to, they have daily meals, like a chotri. So I would go near that place. So I ended up there in Virginia Beach, in a woodlot, a nice, secluded place. And I would get food every day, and I ended up helping them, serving food. Because if I have any profession in life, it's a servant. So if I see anything in need, I would help. So I used to help them serve food, even I helped them give pantry. And I would help them every day for a few hours at some Judeo-Christian outreach center. And right near Ashok's daughter's house, believe it or not, she lived right near where I was staying. Ashok's daughter, we found out. Yeah. So I did that, for a few years. I lived there. Very simple. People say, well, what are your plans? You're living here. In that Judeo-Christian outreach center, they also provided housing for homeless people and everything. And they wanted to put me up somewhere, but they knew I preferred to live in the tent. They offered and all that. And they respected what I was doing. And they always asked me, what is your plans? I said, well, I don't have any particular. He said, you must have some plans. I said, well, I do have a plan. And the plan is to follow the plan. I said, everyone, there's always a plan for all of us. So I followed the plan. And so I stayed there for maybe 2 years and 9 months. And they were going to tear down that building, that Judeo-Christian outreach place, and building a new building. And they had lots of volunteers. And somehow I felt it was the time to move on. So then I took the bike. I was given a bike, volunteered. There was one Catholic lady, she understood what I was doing and everything. And she used to insist that I have things that she would make sure I had things that I needed, some devoted people there at that Judeo-Christian Outreach Center. So my life was very simple. I could get food every day. I could cook everything I needed. I could get, and what I needed was all I wanted. And it was very simple. And I lived in a tent in the woods. And although I lived with homeless people, all of them, I kept company with them. No one intimately, but they all knew me and thought I was crazy, of course. I didn't like that. And if I had other options, they thought I could live otherwise. But so I used to tell them everything I wanted in life I got. And whatever I wanted to do in life, I did. And so what do? You keep repeating your old things over and over again. So I thought I'd simplify it and live differently. So it was very fulfilling. I don't know, I was doing what my heart told me to do. And then after 2 years and 9 months, I wrote a note to a couple places that they knew me. And I went down to North Carolina on a bicycle. And I saw another place where they serve meals every day. So I went near that place. And then I ended up helping them a bit. And I stayed in a shelter, homeless shelter. In fact, the director wanted to hire me as one of the supervisors, and I helped them. I said, I'll volunteer and help you. So I was like a night supervisor of a homeless shelter. And they gave me a room there eventually. And
He's the one who figured out your background, where you.
yeah, he said, he used to tell me, he envied my life. He was a pastor, big, black, beautiful person, and he said, maybe when I get older I can live like you. He had children and everything. He envied the type of life I was living and the dedication I had. And I said, he used to tell me there's a special place in heaven for you. Then he said, you do believe in heaven, don't you? Because I think he looked up on the internet my name and tried to connect it with the ashram and everything. But he told me one day, those people back there love you? So then I knew for sure he was looking something up, But he was a wonderful person. And then what happened there? Okay, they got a new director. I was there for over 2 years. They got a new director. And she thought it wasn't right that I was doing what other employees or staff members were doing and not being an employee. That she wanted me to move out and hire me with a salary and everything. And I didn't want to do that. And she didn't want me to, although they had, they respected me, they gave me a room, and, they wouldn't tell me to leave, I don't think ever, because I had, helped them and served the organization. They understood. But that supervisor, which I was very close with, he left, and some other people left when the new director came. So I eventually left also, and then I rode the bike a couple 100 miles west in the mountains. There's a national park there. And I thought that, I had such a strong calling to leave and live this type of life that unless I get a similar strong calling to return, I'm not going to return, I'll die here, which is fine. I was happy with, I was content. So I'll continue with this until I get, I didn't wait for the calling or think anything about it. I'm just doing day by day. And so overnight, I was living in a tent in this national forest near Troy, North Carolina. And I could only think, Ranjani lives by, and I have to call her and go back. My time's up. It came here like that. So in the morning, I went to a church and sat on the step of the church. It was a Sunday morning. And I knew the pastor would come. And she came, it was a woman. Her name was Tawanda Bennett. Pastor Tawanda Bennett, a woman. These are all, African American churches. In fact, all the ones I was involved with. I'm a Baptist now, I think, because I went to so many Baptist churches. But I didn't see any difference. They're all sincere people. And so I told her, I've been living homeless for some years. I can, go back to a place if you can let me use your phone or make a phone call for me. So I asked, can you call this number? I don't know the number. It's her name is Ranjani Ramanan. She lives in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So she found it. And they had the satsang, they had a picture of the mountain Arunachala. She said, well, this might be some company or something.
So sweet.
I said, no, that's a number there, we can try that. So that was a number that she used for satsang. And I know that she used to keep an answering machine on the counter in the kitchen. I don't know if she still does that. And the calls used to come into there, and she would take the messages. So we left a message, and she didn't call back. So the next day I went to the library and tried to find another number of Ranjani. And that pastor said she would keep trying, but she lived about an hour away from that town. And she, in the meantime, she gave me a place to stay. She said, I have a house which I'm going to use for homeless people. And you can stay there, and I'll try to get in touch with this number. She was very sincere. And, she would pray in the mornings to say, Lord Jesus, save me. And she would do it so intensely. She said, I could see my body down below as I was praying. So I told her to read the book, The Way of the Pilgrim. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's a Russian story about a pilgrim who got possessed with the idea what St. Paul said in the epistles, pray without ceasing, how to do it. And he found out how to do it from a monk. Say, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. So he kept repeating it constantly. And then he could see his body. I said, you can do that. And not only that, it became like japa for him. He was experiencing it all the time. So I told her to read this book, and it'll help you with your prayer. So she came back the next day, and she couldn't come back the next day. But I found a number the next day that I can try for Ranjani. So the next day, the following day, she came back again. And then I said, I think I have another number. So we tried that number. Actually, it was Rasika's number. I don't know how, but Ranjani was Rasika in Los Angeles. She was there, not in Chapel Hill. And I called that number, and Ranjani later said, I saw that someone calling, but we didn't know who was calling, so we didn't answer. So then I called Mohan in New York, and he answered right away in the ashram. And I asked him, is Ranjani in town? And Mohan said, well, very happy to hear your voice. And I saw an email from Mohan dated like 2022. He's sending it to me. I never checked the email when I was gone or anything. He said, okay, Dennis, I know you're away. Please come back. I'll promise to be a trustee. I'll do everything I'm doing now. It was on my birthday, I think. He would send me an email every birthday like that. Yeah. But I never saw the emails. But so Mohan answered. I asked, is Ranjani in town? He said, very much so. I talked with her last week. He gave me the number to call. And actually, she wasn't in town. She was in Los Angeles. So I said, I thought you were in town. I think I'm only a couple hours from your place. I told her, maybe I was going to ask her if she could come pick me up. And she said, I can't do that, but I'll buy you a ticket. I'm going to send a ticket. Give the phone to that pastor. So she arranged everything with the pastor and sent a ticket and even $200. So I wouldn't have money, cash, money. And then the pastor saying, who is that lady? He's saying, you know. So Ranjani's thanking that lady so much for helping me and everything. And she's wondering, who is that lady? I said, just she's the wife of a friend I had who passed away. And so she was very impressed that Tawanda. When we got back lately, we sent some money to her to buy beds for that homeless home. She had no beds in there. I slept on the floor there. So I sent somebody. I talked to her on the phone about it, and she has some family staying there, and so she's been using it and everything. So that's the story. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know that you always have a question.
So I have two questions. So the first one is, while you were helping them take care of different chores, and you said a couple of times that you had what you wanted to have, so you were content. So that is one part. From the external side, you had the people that you didn't know, but you felt one with them or whatever. Now, in terms of your mental, call that practices, or like you have the traditionally for 25 plus years, early morning, waking up, listening to Vedic chants, and so all that pattern of your life design was now different. So how
Not different.
it was?
Continue the same. Time schedule may be different, but everything continued the same. That's all. I had to adjust to time and everything. And
No, you did
doing
have-
the service, serving others, seeing Bhagwan and everyone. That's the practice. If you can do your work with, I learned really detachment. So to do work without attachment, without thinking about the results, to serve without attachment. And they used to call me Mr. Fan Man. Fan, because the breeze comes from the fan. He's always cool, he says. Nothing affects him. So that's from being detached and doing the practice, or helping or serving with love and affection and dedication, but not being attached. So that helped me very much. I didn't spend all day doing that. I asked them, I'll help you, but in the night shift, so it was quieter at night, not much going on with the home. But I used to serve these homeless people as best, I could provide them with many things that they needed. When I was a boy, I always thought that what was the most important thing in life was to go to heaven, one, and to serve those in need of the basic necessities of life. So even I wanted to become like a missionary, go to Africa and help them in the villages and things. I went to a seminary to try it out and everything. But it wasn't like I thought it was. I thought they'd be floating on air singing psalms. It was like a boys' school. They used to recruit very young people. That's a problem with the priesthood. They used to. But I told a nun when I got back, I said, it wasn't like I thought it would be. And she said, don't worry about it. If you have the calling, you'll know it, and you won't have any doubts. So later I understood exactly what she meant. But at that time I didn't. I lay in bed at night thinking God's going to say something to me, but nothing happened. So I continued. So maybe I was to fulfill that, some kalpa, or that desire to serve. And that came automatically. It's not something out of design. It's just I followed the flow, went along with the plan, So it was a very simple life. And I had no cell phone, no money, no bills, no problems. Everything was simple. And I said everything I needed, I got, and all I wanted is what I needed. So it's so simple. And so they somehow, with some veterans organization, they found out that I was getting like a lot of compensation from the military. And I had money, but I didn't have it. It always went to the ashram account. And they said we can't. So And so I told them, so I have the privilege of living with those who are poor and homeless, and I have the privilege of being poor and homeless and serving the poor and homeless. I said, this is the greatest. I mean, I've been blessed. This is what I enjoy the most at this time of my life. So that's how it happened.
So sorry, it didn't completely address. Forgive me.
But I said I continued with whatever practice I was doing.
No.
Shravana, Nididhyasana, all that, Manana,
I see.
Shravana, Nididhyasana, I was continued, but not at the same schedule, whatever was available, you know. The ideal was the same, nothing changed. Just, you can say outer activities changed because I'm not in the ashram, I'm somewhere else, but I'm doing the same thing with the same attitude. That answer?
Yeah. So, well, just to clarify, for my sake, you didn't have phone, so
No.
you weren't able to listen to chants or anything.
No.
So there was maybe constant repetition of the name. Probably was that.
I didn't do japa.
I
I
see.
followed Bhagavan's teachings, you know, for the meditation. His vichara, that's always been my practice.
You were terrified when you left.
Huh?
And so moving forward, if you ever feel like you need to be homeless, there's a 100-acre property in Nova Scotia, you can pitch a tent there.
Well, Darlene said to me, if ever you leave again, you have to tell me beforehand.
Yes. We have plenty of tents
No, and then-
and plenty of space. You will be left alone with no cell phone.
Yes.
We'll take away all media
Yes.
and you can just stay there.
Well, don't tell me, tell him, because I didn't.
Jokes aside, we do sincerely thank you for writing that letter to these people.
Yes.
That meant a lot to us.
Yeah,
It
me.
was a true, it still is a true inspiration for all of us.
I know everyone can't do what I do, but I had the freedom to do that. You know, and- But you have everyone has the freedom to do it internally. You know, to live with detachment and dedicate yourself to that ideal. So my time is up. I don't know about your time here.